Okay, we're live.
We are live.
Still my camera. Apparently, my camera is.
And Doc is back from his little LSD trip.
Uh-uh.
Well, I guess since Doc has vanished suddenly while he works on his camera, welcome to the show. Glad to see everybody again.
That was strange, the camera.
Want to start the introductions, Zara?
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Zara Altair, and I write for the web. I also am a novelist.
Steve?
I am Steve Grinter. I am the CMO at Web Narwhal, and finally starting to get my legs under me, and it's only the 18th day of the new year.
That's the new legs that were operated on, eh?
Yes, the new legs.
I'm Terry Van Horn. I live in Toronto, Ontario. And I guess everybody in Toronto is a liar from what I was told on Twitter today.
Why is that?
Well,
Oh, some fraud. You know what I'm talking about, Doc. You've been there.
yeah.
Yeah, apparently he didn't think that the internet was open in the 90s.
It wasn't.
Sure it was. Google
It wasn't until 1994 when Al Gore started it.
Yeah. That was about when it started, though, 94. It was about then that I got online.
Yeah.
That's when the more open and public internet started happening, yeah.
When was Mosaic?
Had to have been 92, 93.
Yeah, somewhere in there. That was my first browser, was Mosaic.
Yep.
Yeah, that was, they used HTML too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I remember when I was on the internet and just the text-based stuff, the Usenet, Gopher, and all that crap.
Yeah.
And then when the World Wide Web started to become a thing, I actually went down to the store and bought a brown box called Internet in a Box. And all it had on it was a manual and a floppy disk with the DLLs you need for Windows 3.1 to communicate on the internet properly.
Wow.
It was pretty slick, and it had a copy of Mosaic in it. So it was 2 floppies. And yeah, shortly after that, I jumped on the web and went, holy cow, look at this fun stuff.
So you're talking about a version before 3.1.1 for work groups, right?
Right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember we converted at work. We had an intranet, and then we had limited systems that were tied in with access to the internet, and they were running Mosaic. And then we converted everybody over to 3.1.1 for work groups when the president fired his daughter, who was the CTO, and she was an Apple freak. And he fired her and Apple at the same time.
Nice.
Turned around and ordered $400,000 worth of desktops.
Not a bad choice on his part.
Well,
I had 2 good decisions. She was kind of hard to deal with.
I remember when we were trying to convince a lot of companies to make the transitions away from Novell and into the Microsoft NT environment.
Mm-hmm. That was a nightmare.
It was a hard sell because, and I didn't understand why it was such a hard sell, other than the fact it was because it's what they were used to. But when they all started buying new workstations that were all Windows based, and then we had to jump through all those stupid hoops to hook up to the old Novell 2.0 or whatever they were running because they didn't want to spend the 60 grand to upgrade to the next version of Novell. It's like, we could just slide sideways into NT and avoid a lot of problems.
Yep.
Yeah. When my brother got in the business, that's what he was doing. A lot of conversion from
Conversions.
Yeah.
from that to Windows.
Novell was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Luckily, I never had to deal with that one.
I got pretty good at it for a while, and then the conversion stuff started happening. I got real happy with that. It made life so much easier. You just walked in with a new Windows NT box and unplugged the Novell server, burn it in a pile, and start up.
No. There's another announcement by Microsoft this week about OpenAI. They're opening it to people on Azure. They have an app running on there.
The people where?
Go ahead, Sarah.
They're opening it to people where, Terry?
If you're on the Azure platform,
Oh, yeah, I read
they've
that.
added it there with some pre-programmed stuff. I was looking at it and some stuff on Google's cloud for an idea I have for plugin, which I finished my first plugin over the weekend too. It writes the most popular posts from a site, wherever you want to put it.
Total segue here. I was in setting up a new GA4 property for a client and found out that our good friends over at Duda are now part of the default instructions in Google Analytics. When
Really?
you set up a GA4 data stream, it says, what platform are you on? And Duda is listed as one of those now alongside of WordPress and Shopify and Wix and all the other major players. So, good for them. They're making progress. They are growing and finally getting around to updating some of the smaller, annoying bugs that are in the system. It's always a balancing act for every platform between rolling out new features and going back and fixing
the old ones,
small bugs that only affect a small percentage of your user base. That's always been like trying to explain to one of my clients whose Google business profile was suddenly removed from Google. And she's like, why isn't this fixed? Why don't you fix this? It's like, you understand they delete like 2.3 billion of these every single year. You're just one. And yeah, she goes, but we're legitimate. I understand that. But when you are talking a company the size of Google, one is not a number they care about.
Yeah.
But that's getting stupid. I mean, I saw on Twitter a guy say that Google wanted him to video him unlocking the front door of the premises.
Yep.
He wasn't the owner. He was just working for the owner.
Understood.
Like, absurd. That is absurd.
And showing signage on the outside of the building, which if you're located in a Trump Tower office building, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen that before.
Well, they've also been asking for business licenses, utility bills. If you have branded vehicles, they want to show you unlocking and locking those and getting in and out of them. And I think a lot of this is all triggered by their purchase of Waze, because Waze is a driving directions software.
Yeah.
And they bought that, and Waze is 100%. If you're not a physical location, you can't be on their platform. And I think what Google is doing is starting to ignore a lot of businesses that aren't what they consider real businesses, because you don't have a real commercial location. And so you have to jump through a lot of extra hoops.
I wonder if you signed up for some Google ads, how fast you'd get back in.
It's worse.
Really?
Yeah. One of them, again, we're going to talk about a client. They have a chain of stores. They bought another chain of stores in a neighboring region, and we could not add those locations to their Google Ads platform. because they had a different name.
Right.
Yeah.
You can only have one account.
But that's not how business works. You know,
Yeah, but
many businesses own many other businesses, and you want to run those under one account.
I understand that, but you can affect the auction if you have two names. If you have two businesses on there, you can actually, manipulate.
See, that was kind of my point. What they did is they forced us to create a second Google Ads account under this other company, under this other chain's name, and use a different payment method. It's still, the corporate office is still the same.
So they actually made it easier for you to do what they didn't want people to
Correct.
do.
Yeah. Fortunately for us,
you know,
these two chains are geographically separated, and we do very targeted local ads. So it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
But it took me 6 months to finally work my way through the process of every single Google Ads person I talked to said it was a Google business profile problem, and all the GBP people said it's an ads problem, and not one of them could figure it out. And we figured it out by simply creating new accounts.
See, but they couldn't tell you to do that because that's also against their policy.
Mm-hmm. It's like the laws here in the United States.
And when you think about it,
you break a Google law every day.
And it won't be difficult for Google to determine, just like you're saying, different payment method. Okay, they can see that you got the same PayPal account or the same bank account or the same business license or the same EIN, taxpayer identification number. So it's a narrowing funnel there. At some point, it's going to eliminate a whole lot of businesses.
Well, and therein lies the problem, the narrowness of the mind of the people at Google making those decisions about businesses. I'll tell you, when I was doing a lot of local and really interested in what was going on, it's a joke. The way they block some people from getting it and,
Well, a lot of it's very arbitrary, and you got these policies that are published, and so basically they're having to read a script and respond per the policy with no human intervention allowed. And of course, there's no way to get a hold of a human unless you happen to be blood brothers with somebody in the building,
Yeah.
Yeah. Or have a big enough following on social media.
Well, yeah.
It's like
back to the one that Google doesn't care about. But if you don't care about a lot of ones and much of your revenue comes from ads, I don't understand. Help me with the math here.
Because the ones are such a small percentage, and it's like, it's the same thing when they do their pricing on the ad, when they do the ad auction. If you're targeting national versus city,
right,
local, the ads cost more for local.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an auction. How can that be?
Well, the reasoning being that I've been told is that since they are more targeted, they're more likely to be successful. Therefore, they should cost more.
But it's an auction.
I understand that.
You have to the people in the auction raise the price, not
they just put a high reserve on it.
Yeah.
I don't think they do that. Or they didn't in the past, because I remember buying spelling errors for under 5 cents.
Oh yeah. Well, now those don't matter.
That was a long time ago.
Well, that's because those don't matter as much because of the close variant. But we've run tests before where we'll run ads targeting one city like Los Angeles, and then we'll run the exact same ads targeting the entire United States, and there's usually a 20 to 30% difference in price.
Wow.
Yeah. Shouldn't be, but there is.
So local people are willing to pay more.
No, Google charges local people more.
Google charges them more.
You don't have if you want to be in the ads, that's what they cost.
Well, I think that's their end game, is that eventually they want to be in total control of your ads. And, just like, what was it, like 3 years ago that they started automatically going to broad match?
Mm-hmm.
And exact match was no longer a thing. I just, you could select it, but don't hold your breath till it actually happens.
Yeah,
I don't think it's even selectable anymore.
They're making a lot of the different ad campaign types Performance Max only now.
Yeah,
you don't have a choice. If you want to run that type of an ad, then this is how you'll run it. And Performance Max, I don't know.
You have to.
It's bad.
You have to imagine that when they do something like that is potentially controversial, they must be really keeping their finger on the pulse of their ad placements and to see if it's having an effect on their bottom line, enough of an effect for them to be concerned with. And if they piss off 10,000 advertisers, that's not even a flurry. They don't care.
But does it really matter? What's your alternative to Google?
Yeah.
Well, not,
right. What's your alternative? There isn't one.
Billboards, radio, television.
Okay, but cost and, there are a lot of limitations on that.
Cost and reach, yeah.
I know companies who are local, who are giving up their ads campaigns and replacing them with just old school traditional advertising again. They're shutting down their Google Ads accounts entirely. The money just isn't there anymore. Not for it's getting harder at the local level. If you're just competing in a small geographic region, it's tough. It is really tough because the costs have gotten so high.
And you're getting untargeted clicks, more untargeted clicks from smaller places.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Google's promoted theory about that is that we know where to put these ads, right? You don't get to target them anymore.
What?
Yep. They have so much data that they're right.
Oh, man. When I stopped taking PPC, it was because it just becomes so complicated. And I just said, nobody is ever going to make a lot of money off this. The only people who make money off this are Google.
Google, yeah.
Yeah, I was elated to be one of the holdouts that always stayed away from PPC. I had no interest in it, no desire to get involved in it. And I was tickled pink with that. Unfortunately, when we got together and formed Web Narwhal, now I'm feeling that pain because it's just gotten, to set up a business profile is a nightmare now.
Yeah, but you know what? The most lucrative job I've had in this business was the couple of years I did PPC. Double the money, a tenth of the work.
Yeah, back then. But
that
double is possibly 10 or 20% more now, if that, because it made it very costly and very difficult.
Yeah.
It's much more niche and market and audience dependent than it used to be.
Yep.
It's a real challenge now, and you've really got to have a hard handle on your numbers to be able to be successful in the ad space anymore. You can't just guess and assume that you're close or you're right. I get a fair amount of phone calls from people who are contemporaries of ours that are asking for advice on how to get clients to give them more information so they can be more successful. And it's tough when you have clients who, it's not that they don't trust you, they're just not used to letting people have that much information about how their business is doing. And without certain numbers, you just have to guess, and you have to tell the client, I'm basing this off the numbers you gave me. And if it's wrong, it's because of the numbers you gave me.
Or more often, because of the numbers you didn't give me.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
content. It's more about what you didn't give me than what you gave me.
And that is, we're facing that now. You know, it's just, they're very protective of that data. And I understand the feeling behind it, but, you can't expect the doctor to fix what's wrong if you're going to play like a puppy and not be able to tell him,
Yeah. I wouldn't even consider doing PPC now without an internal system. Because when I did it, I had an internal tracking. I mean, I didn't even look at Google Analytics. It was all in my own tracking that somebody wrote. And we were
The problem is now, if you don't feed the conversion data back to the ads platform, your ads are never going to get any better.
Yep.
You're gonna top out. Because of the way the ads platform is running these days, they tend to throw a lot of very cheap traffic as a test. And that's fine if they tell me they're doing it or let me guide that in some way. But they don't always do that. You're constantly getting weird traffic and you're looking at this going, why am I paying for this? Yeah. But every once in a while, some of that weird traffic converts and it lets the machine learn a little more. So you have to be able to send that data back, and they have a process where you can upload your conversion data based on GCL IDs and all of that other stuff, but it's a pain in the ass. It's just easier to integrate the platform directly and just give Google access to it because you're going to give it to them anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to really confuse one of their reps, Steve? Complain about getting more clicks than you're paying for.
Yeah, that never happens. The other direction happens quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, they said, well, we just don't charge it for everyone. And I said, why? And he said, because we think it's fraud. Yeah. I said, but some of them actually convert. He said, well, I guess you're lucky then, eh?
Yeah.
So essentially what you're doing is you're paying Google to train their learning system by providing them data.
Yeah.
But you're paying them.
They have adequate information to increase your cost. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Well, it's the same thing with, Facebook has the same issue with their pixel and their pixel data. It's not uncommon to be working on a Facebook campaign for years and really have that pixel fine-tuned and then have somebody else come in and go, well, this is easy. It's like, here, no, let me give you a blank pixel and let you start from scratch and tell me how easy it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been hearing an awful lot of comments made in groups that, the time is ripe for a serious, capable ads competitor to jump in and disrupt.
On what platform?
Yeah, you have to have.
It's all about the traffic that Google search gets, that the ads are so big.
Yep. Because, then you're forced to have each site that wants to be selling ads from your ads to mm-hmm. have them upload an API or a particular plugin and whatnot, and a lot of people will not be willing to do that because outside of our circles, an awful lot of people trust Google implicitly. Users,
Yeah. We tried to build a topic-specific ad platform in the jewelry business about 10, 12 years ago, maybe 15. And it was a real challenge. We were, every time we could find a jeweler that was willing to give it a shot, but you still had to have websites to post the ads to.
Mm-hmm.
And it became a real, I mean, we managed to launch and do a very small run for about 6 months, but you just can't compete with the monster. And every time you get to where you can compete with them, they buy you. I mean, they bought DoubleClick. And, you know, so it's hard to avoid getting snapped up. And I don't blame the people who get bought, because when somebody comes by and waves you, you know, a few $100 million in your face, take the money. My culture could be so, my corporate culture can be sold for money. I'm fine with that.
DoubleClick really increased the size of their AdSense network.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when that happened. That's about when I was doing PPC, was when they bought DoubleClick.
Yeah.
That's a while back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, I was Payday Loan, and I was paying $2 an ad.
there's a
probably about $30 now or more.
There's a couple of web forums that I'm still on. And if you're logged in, you don't see ads. But if you're not logged in, holy crap, that's like 80% advertising on the page.
Oh, whoa.
I mean, it's hard to click on something that's not an ad. And I feel like that scene in what was that, Ready Player One, where they're like, we've determined that we can cover up 80% of your field of view before we start causing seizures. Oh, it looks like earlier this morning, Bank of America lost all of its Zelle transfers.
Ooh.
Oops.
I'm on Reddit looking right now. There are people talking about thousands of dollars of overdraft fees from all the stuff that's bouncing. Wow.
Couldn't happen to a nicer bank.
Yeah, but you know, it's not going to cost them any money.
Yeah.
Nope. They'll just pass it all on. Jack it
gonna
up,
cost
10%,
everybody
pass
else.
it all on. Yeah.
I still don't understand why when somebody writes you a bad check, you have to pay.
I don't
That seems-
understand that one either, because we can make money, Steve.
Because
They get it on both ends.
They get it on both ends. Yep.
Yeah. They're charging the guy who wrote the check as well. So, you know, who only only a bank would think of a clip, you know, a way to clip you like that. Oh, we'll get them on both ends, Joe.
I remember selling a used car to a guy, and he wrote a check. I went to the bank and I asked him if the check would clear. And the girl behind the counter is not supposed to tell you that. She kind of looked at it and she goes, probably not. It's like, cool, by how much? She goes, well, I can't tell you that. It's like, well, if I put $100 in his account, will the check clear? And she goes, yeah. So I put $100 in his account, cashed the check, and walked away. I don't know what that did to him, but I looked at it as selling the car for $100 less than I was originally going to sell it for.
Hmm.
But, oh my goodness.
That was one of the things I used as a pitch in the payday loan. It was
Right.
cheaper to pay a payday loan company than to bounce a check, because
Yeah.
not only do you pay for the bounce check, they up your credit card. All your interest that they're collecting
Mhm.
from you goes up as well. So, you know,
Also-
if you had a lot of credit, you were about to make a big difference. So what's paying $15, $20 to a company to cover it?
Hmm.
But, you know, that's not frowned upon for a bank to do it. But, you know, if Joe Blow does it, or somebody's just trying to make a few bucks, oh God, you'd think they were going around killing people. The
Loan
way
sharking.
people acted when I told them I was in that business
Oh yeah.
used to make me just go, oh boy, how stupid are you really? You know, you're gobbling up all the nonsense that is in the press.
Yeah. Yeah. They well, the banks create the problem.
Of course
Plain
they
and
do.
simple. They force this secondary banking system on people who need it because the banks are so brutal. Yeah. I did see a good use for the open chat GPT the other day. Somebody was using it to write responses to reviews on their Google listings. It would feed in it's like, here, write a response to this review, and boom, it would spit it out, copy, paste, done.
There was a post today that there is actually an application that is using the web with GPT.
Okay.
So that means it can do recent events and stuff as well. In other words, it's up to date. And for the facts, they're pulling them from the Google Knowledge Graph.
Right. And I saw Getty Images is getting into the whole AI generated picture industry because apparently one of the AI platforms was generating similar images, but also putting the Getty Images brand on their images. And they're like, this is how we know you used our platform to train yours, because you keep putting our watermark on everything.
Oh, Lord, that's funny.
One of them,
You didn't pay us for that. So, if anybody's going to force the whole AI art platforms to start figuring out
Getty.
some kind of a licensing deal, it'll be Getty because they have infinite money.
well, they're also, you know, they've proven that they'll go to any length,
Yeah.
including lying to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's bloodthirsty as hell, that's for sure.
Oh, the one that used to kill me, where there'd be a free images
Royalty-free,
place,
yeah.
and then they go buy it, put a license on it, and then start charging everybody that got the free stuff.
Yep. Retroactive
Oh.
licensing. What was it? Hasbro's doing that right now with Dungeons and Dragons and their open gaming license. They wrote the OGL about 4 or 5 years ago. And it was like, you can use our information, our stuff, do your own games, write your own add-ons, shows, whatever you want to do in perpetuity, lifetime. You're good.
Unless
And
we sell
Dungeons
it.
and Dragons came out of nowhere and became popular again because of this. And just a couple of weeks ago, a new version of the license was leaked saying, okay, we're not doing that anymore. And all your old licenses are no good. And we get 20% of whatever you do. It's like, you understand why you got popular again, right?
Right.
This wasn't how you got popular again, but guess what? It's how you're going to get unpopular again real fast.
And that's a classic instance of a company thinking that the average Joe Blow will not be able to afford the attorney time that it would take to win, and which would be a very winnable case.
Yeah.
But, you know, unless it's a small claims amount, you're going to have to pay an attorney. And that attorney's going to tack at least 3 zeros onto anything, you know.
Well, they should have been more concerned of how that would be taken by the users of the program.
Well, yeah, I mean,
gonna charge the people, anyone who was charging for it was going to have to pay, pay them. They're going to have to up it even more than 20% in order to, make it worth their while. So, but, these are people, probably a lot of them weren't even paying. And, now they're going to have to, and they're going to not do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. I mean, some of the bigger gaming companies have already said, we're out, we're done, we're not signing. And what the funny thing was, it's like, you have a week to sign this new license. And if you don't sign this new license, then all of these things happen. It's like, no. And then they released it over the holidays. So nobody could even, talk to a lawyer. This was very intentionally planned by the folks at Hasbro. This was not a mistake on their part. Just because I know how companies work.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're going to wind up they're going to kill the golden goose again because so many people have already determined they are not upgrading any more Dungeons and Dragons stuff. We're done.
Yeah, I think Hasbro has killed more than one golden goose, Steve.
Hasbro has killed a lot of them.
Yes, sir.
It's because Hasbro's not run by people who play games. It's run by accountants.
People who make money. Yeah. And,
yeah.
and if they keep,
why are we letting? Yeah.
And if they continue to
why
use
are we
the
letting
same tactic, it's because
money?
they're making money regardless. Okay.
Right. Well, it's funny because you hear a lot of times when you talk to investors, they're like, do you want 80% of something really, really big or 100% of something that doesn't exist? And that's kind of where the investment profile comes from. And Hasbro goes, well, we're getting something really, really big from this, but we want even more.
Yeah.
And so then they take that and it's like, oh, wait, where did all this other stuff go? We all walked away. We've done it before.
You
anyway.
have to know your audience. And if they thought that would fly with their audience, they definitely don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, you know, I'm on Facebook does the same thing. I'm on a 30-day timeout on Facebook because of a meme that I shared that I got on Facebook. And my timeout isn't from using Facebook. It's a timeout for going live and using ads. I can do anything else on Facebook. I just can't manage ad campaigns or run a live video.
So why can't you run an ad campaign?
Because I violated the community standards by sharing a meme.
I almost feel bad about reporting you for that, Steve.
I know. You know, if nothing else, it did give me a month away from the Facebook ads platform. So when I go back in, I won't have any idea where anything is anymore.
But how do you explain that to a client?
Not easily.
I just told them. I have 2 clients that I'm running ads for. I'm like, good. The ads are still running. I just can't do anything to them this month.
Can't even turn them off.
Nope, can't turn them off. Can't do nothing.
Wow.
And they're like, okay, that's fine. You know, no big deal. And of course, one of my clients, she's like, oh yeah, they locked me down for 2 years. And then one day it just started working again. And I'm like, wait, what? She goes, yeah, 2 years without access. And then all of a sudden, one day she logged in and it was back. No explanation, nothing.
And they beat
2-year
clients for 2 years.
You know, I'm sure it would hurt some customers out of the hole, but to me, it seems like from a legality standpoint, if they're going to lock you out of your account and prevent you from making any changes, that lockout should also involve stopping all your ads.
You would think.
Yeah.
But what kills me is, you know, they're going after stuff like this. When I can go down onto Facebook right now and point out 100 fraudulent fraud companies on their platform running ads.
Yep.
And it'd take me 20 minutes to come up with the list. And then I could submit this list and they will go, oh, nothing seems wrong with this list at all.
Yep. Well, that seems to be their canned response. I mean, you can get a picture of 15 nudes reported and they'll come back and say it didn't, you know, thank you, but it doesn't violate our standards. Yet 10 minutes from now, it'll be down and gone. But they always seem to send you back an email when you report something that we reviewed this and determined it does not violate our community standards. Come on.
They don't want to admit that they missed stuff.
Yep.
But it's only Facebook. I mean, Christ.
Well, yeah. Heaven forbid.
I go there once a month. That's it. The new post for the one person, and that's it. Do 3 weeks at a time, take a week off, and then put up another 3 weeks with one go.
Well, maybe Elon Musk will buy it and fix it all.
Oh, yeah. Just like
Huh?
Twitter. You know what? I see constantly the same post 3-4 times, and it's not being retweeted. It's the same post just being restreamed 3 days after it initially was there.
I have that same problem on Instagram. I'll be scrolling through stuff on my phone, put my phone down, pick it up, and go, okay, where was I? And try to find where I was. And it's like, why am I looking at all this random stuff I'm not following? At no point did I click on any of this.
Yeah.
And, yeah. They're trying to broaden their reach.
Our buddy Rob Watts tried to claim that yesterday when he showed a picture of some pretty sexy boots that were in an ad. Did you see that one?
Yes, I did.
He tried to claim he hadn't clicked on anything to cause that. I didn't understand why they. I say you're right, Rob. Come on, it's a small closet. Get the fuck out of it.
Oh,
that's what you get for not showing up today, Rob.
Yeah. Well, and there was one I shared a couple weeks ago where I actually saw an ad from Yahoo for Yahoo search results for oxygen generators. You clicked on the ad and it took you to YouTube's or Yahoo's search results page for oxygen generators. And it was covered with ads. And it's like, oh, the arbitrage must have finally hit where they could make a little bit of money off of this.
So the ad sent you to the page, but there were ads on the page.
Well, yeah, it was their normal search results page.
Have you ever worked with Bing's ads, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
Because, on Edge browser, right? My homepage is all news.
Right.
Right? I'm finding that if I go to a site, for instance, with EQ Bank, I go there once or twice a week.
Right.
The day following, going to that EQ Bank site, there's advertisements on the Microsoft browser.
Yeah.
So they're tracking where I'm going and getting people. I get at least 2 WordPress ads a day.
Sure.
And they're not the small pieces, they're the big ones, like the hero image size things, and they're on and that's what I read the most as well.
One of my favorite features of the Bing ads platform is the ability to import your Google ads. You set up all the campaigns in Google, go over to Bing, and you hit import.
Oh, really? And so everything's all set up, and it just
that's a time saver.
Just copies it over.
Wow.
Then I can make a few minor adjustments based on the Bing audience versus the Google audience, because Bing tends to skew a little older.
Mm-hmm.
So you change a little bit of the phrasing to target a very slightly different demographic, and off you go again. Makes life easy.
Remember when they first started doing ads? You had to have a Microsoft browser to enter the site.
It still helps.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
It still helps. I'm ready for the browser wars to be over.
Yeah, but they do stuff in the Edge browser that is supposed to work with the Microsoft technology. Like when I was doing a lot of .NET programming, it was tuned for Edge, and Edge did certain things a certain way because of what did they use? Explorer back then. Now it's called Edge.
I said we hope it falls off of.
Yeah. People just go nuts when I tell them that that's the only browser I use.
Yeah.
Is Edge.
Well, I mean, and I get it. I mean, when you're buying computers, unless, your job is, your first job is to go out and install Chrome. But, my neighbor just went out and bought a brand new computer, and he's like, no, I just use whatever's on the computer. I don't download anything down. And that is a large number of people.
Yeah.
Well, my neighbors like that. They're totally Microsoft.
Yeah,
And a
but
lot
some
of people in our
people,
field don't get that.
like, okay, well, the first job I had was at a publicly listed company. I couldn't even run Perl on their machine, even though you could. They wouldn't allow me to run it on the Windows thing until Microsoft came out with their own version of Perl. But it worked faster than the regular Perl did because it was tuned for Microsoft. And it was a lot easier to install it and all that stuff as well. Because it had an installer. So you didn't have to, the thing that used to kill me are the tar balls. Like, really? You think I got a thing to open a tar ball, you idiot? Like everybody's on Linux. Most people aren't.
I've used Linux since almost when it came out, and I still hate it. It is such, everybody, my friends who use it, oh, it's so easy. It's like, yes, if you spend all day in tech.
Yeah.
If that is, you live and breathe, you're a programmer or whatever, I get it. But for anybody who just wants a computer at home, really? No.
Makes sense. No.
That's like bringing the sledgehammer to do your finished carpentry.
Yeah.
No, I played with the idea about 3-4 years ago. I decided to try it on one of my old machines just for security concerns. And since so many people seem to be doing it, maybe it'd be worth looking at. And it took me about 2 days to decide, screw this. This is too much like work.
Well, it was all on the command line and all that stuff. That's what used to drive my brother crazy. Yeah. He was a Microsoft guy, right? Network administrator. And he said, this is all command line. I want a GUI. I could do it a lot faster.
Exactly. Well, I fought against going to Windows for a long time because most of the work at the time, I was working as a designer and I was doing a lot of AutoCAD. And when the new version of AutoCAD came out, for a while there, when you could update either to a Windows version or a DOS version, and I always chose the DOS. And then one day a new update came out and there was no longer a DOS version.
It was only Windows. Yeah.
Okay, time to bite the bullet. And that was like 92, 91, I guess. And I didn't have a choice. I had to go to Windows because I was making my living with AutoCAD. Pissed me off. I would have been happy to stay with DOS forever. 622, loved it. I still have an unopened set of those on 3.5, on 3.5, the 622.
I think I've got one around here somewhere too. Of
course, then I've got a few dozen AOL CDs too. So they make great coasters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun to throw at the cat. Yeah. It's going to be, for lack of a better word, interesting to watch over the next year or three. The changes. I think there's going to be a lot of huge changes we're going to see in the way the internet is used and the way that companies are using it and how they're billing, the kind of thing we were talking about at the beginning here with Google Ads and advertising platforms that are available. And, this morning, Microsoft laid off 10,000 people, okay, which is like 0.5% or something. No, it's like less than 5% of their workforce. And so the one that Amazon was laying off a bunch, and
like 18,000. Yeah.
The cost of labor is going up. People are realizing now that they can work remotely, and companies will accept it. And I don't understand why that contributes to driving the cost of labor up. For me, for instance, if I can remove the need to go into an office every day and all the commuting and dress code and meals out and all that, if I can remove those from my life, I would be willing to take the same or perhaps even a tad less pay.
That isn't the reason the wages are going up. The wages are going up because there's shortages of labor. Nobody wants to work in a restaurant. Doesn't pay enough money. And yeah, you know, with COVID, who wants to take the chance that you're out of a job because of
it's
a pandemic?
Yeah.
It's even less about COVID. It's less about COVID and how people are treating the employees. The threshold for abuse that employees will take anymore is 0.
Yeah.
Because they're, and I have absolutely no, I 100% support them. There's no reason for you to treat these people like crap.
Yeah.
Ever.
Kids won't take crap like we would, Steve.
No. Well, because
these days they won't. They just won't.
We were taught to take it. We were trained to, you know, shut up, let the customer yell and scream, and then apologize. That is not the way the world is today. You're going to yell and scream at somebody, you're going to get it back, or they're going to walk.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate enough the last couple of times we went out, we were at one restaurant, and this family was just going off on this server, and the manager walked over and they started going off on the manager. The manager just threw them out.
Get the fuck out. Yeah.
Basically, we'll never come here again. It's like, good.
Good. We don't want to.
I'm going to tell everybody. It's like, yeah, I'm sure your friends know what kind of people you are too.
Okay.
This is not a secret.
Here's the thing though, right? I hear this and I just go, this is crazy. Like Google, right, gives the Raider guides a wage of $14.50. That isn't even fucking minimum wage in most civilized fucking countries.
Well, you know, when you start civilizing the conversation, you've eliminated those of us between the Canada and Mexico.
You know what I'm saying, though. I just don't understand it because, and here's what's even more maddening. When you hear those idiots at the Federal Reserve talking about, well, we got to keep wages down and inflation's going up. So what you're saying is the common guy should never get ahead. That's
right.
What you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
You notice that.
Exactly.
I mean, Christ. Yeah. I mean, it's a little cheaper to live in the States than it is here, right? When you look at what we pay for some goods, right?
For some goods,
but you know, don't pay for health care. I mean, never in my whole life have I worried about not being able to get something to eat and somewhere to live. Because you know what? The government just doesn't allow you to be on the streets. If you're there, you want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Whereas in the States, it's like, from what I understand, you know,
Canada has a lot of their own housing problems coming their way as well. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made it illegal for non-citizens to buy land. And it's not. This is what, when I heard that, I'm like, this is not new. There are areas of Canada where you could never own land unless you were part of the First Nations.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's because of the treaties with the First Nations.
Yeah.
However, I can tell you, Steve, that in where one of the places where they said you can't do this is the Lower Mainland in BC. And I'll tell you, I was there in the 70s and there was no land then. If you wanted to build a house, you were building it 30 miles outside of Vancouver.
Right.
And what happened is when money started getting big, they were moving it offshore. And they had a thing where you could become a Canadian citizen by buying so much property or a business. And that's how a lot of people got into the country.
Well, your problem up there, though, Terry, was the fact that you guys signed these treaties with First Nation and then decided to fucking honor them. We don't have that problem in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
We signed treaties in invisible ink.
We haven't met a treaty we couldn't break.
Yeah, but
exactly.
I'll tell you, I live near a reservation. No one should have to live like that.
Yeah, when I lived in New Mexico, we had 2 reservations nearby, and it is amazing the difference between from crossing a barbed wire fence makes.
God, yeah, I visited the reservation twice at Taos, and it is sad.
Well,
Really,
I know they used to. They used to have the balloon. Well, they still have it. The balloon fiesta down in Albuquerque. And if you blow north over the fence and land on reservation property, it's a coin toss how that interaction is going to go.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, your hot air balloon that's worth $20,000 or $30,000 is now on Indian land, and if you want it back, you might want to have to make a donation.
So kind of like running into a cartel down here in Mexico.
Yeah, kind of. The only difference is the cartels seem to have an awful lot of money.
Well,
and most of the reservations
because of their American clientele.
Very much.
We're coming up on the top of the hour. What's everybody got planned for the week? Anything cool?
I'm working on a really long article about AI and SEO.
You and 10,000 other.
Yeah, I know. And it's behind. It's not.
Twitter, if you had a filter for Chat GPT, you had about 3 posts all day.
Oh, so so I was saying at the team meeting this morning, I said, okay, I've done section 3, and I said, I just want you to know that, when I put something in there, I put at the time of publishing this article, this is happening, because every day stuff is changing. Yep. And people are using it in new ways. People are discovering new ways to do it. People are discovering new ways not to use it because X happened, and so whatever was current 3 days ago doesn't mean it's current today. So I'm just, I wanted to give them that.
Well, I saw an article not a day or two ago where CNET has been publishing AI written articles for quite some time now.
Oh, yeah.
Since November.
Month. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoops.
They weren't labeling them, but because somebody found a few that had errors in them, they put on all of them now. These are being reviewed currently. I don't think they really say that why. They're just saying, please be aware these are under review.
I still think that the AI for content, if you're using it to help you create an outline, is a wonderful use for that. Because I know my brain struggles to create outlines because I tend to blue shiny and wander off in all kinds of weird directions. But having something give me a framework to work with inside, I would find that very useful.
Yeah, the framework's useful. Part of it is, I was just reading yesterday, that Google says, if it's useful, it educates the user, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that a lot of the use of the written content with ChatGPT is based on the prompt. Well, we were talking a little bit about this last week about the AI prompt, because the more I play with prompts, the different the information comes out in totally different ways.
Mhm.
I can say, write in the style of so and it comes out all chatty and happy and beginning, and then I go, write business persuasive with a list, and then it's like bullet points of, whatever. But the thing is, still, when it does that, at least for me, I find myself doing two things. One, checking if what it says is correct. And two, it tends to be wordy. So, it could say something like for the use of, and all you have to say is use, and you could
Plus,
go
it also
through
tends
and
to be
That's
clean
where
up
the
all that
edit.
flubberty-gusty language. And but as far as generating the ideas, yes, agree, Steve.
Yeah, I tried a thing called Bertha AI, and you plug it into WordPress, give it a keyword in the title thing, and give it a prompt to give you 5 titles for this keyword.
Okay.
You get 5 titles. You know how I've spent literally a half hour.
Yeah, I
trying
struggle
to
with
write
titles.
a title.
That is one of the things it does.
Right.
too.
And it will do it really well because for some reason it puts the clickbaitiness into it for you. It gives a good description, and that's for me what a title is about. And I believe Google will be less likely to rewrite them because in the future they'll be able to train it to not do stuff that will trigger a rewrite in Google. And it's pre-written prompts in applications that are really going to amplify AI, where the prompts and the extra training that they can add to it makes it specific to an industry. That's when it'll get crazy. And that's basically what Microsoft's allowing you to do. There's not one where you can say, open up this document and summarize it for me. Right? When you can do that, point it to a document on your system. It opens it, summarizes it, and writes it out for you. Right? That's when it's saving me a huge amount of time. Because you know what? I could tell it, open up my email, right? Go into my email and summarize every one of the messages there for me. And you can quickly go through and without having to, go through all the things you have to do to open an email, close it, all that stuff. It's all there and you can automatically do it. That's where it's going to really be productivity it's going to be like I'm trying to think of something that would add as much. Well, probably the internet itself added to the productivity of society. It's going to take that to a whole new level.
I'm kind of done with being more productive. It doesn't seem to help. It just means I have to work more.
Sometimes I believe that too. For some people, it'd be easier to write it than edit it.
Yeah, editing's a pain for me.
Well, we're at the top of the hour, folks.
Okay.
We give them 4 extra minutes, so we better take that out.
If we could just bill them by the minute, we'd be set, right?
I
don't know. I'm excited about the AI, Chat GPT type of thing because of different reasons, like the fact, if you want to do some schema markup on a particular issue, if you want a JavaScript script of any kind particular language that's going to give you a particular function, it seems to be doing pretty well at that. I see a lot of people say, the first result functioned perfectly. A couple have said it's a very minor tweaks. But basically, like for schema, basically all you have to do is just plug in the page-specific stuff, fill in the gaps.
A lot of JavaScript is only 4 or 5 lines. The people who are saying that Chat GPT wrote a plugin for him. I'm positive full of shit. Because when I tried to do it, it was complete and utter fucking nonsense. And it was taken from somebody else. I mean, fuck, I can go out and, copy someone else's script. I'm
an amazing really GitHub programmer.
Huh?
I'm an amazing GitHub programmer. I can copy and paste anything from there.
GitHub programmer. I like that.